Hi, welcome to Books with Lexi. Today I'm so excited to talk to you about one of my favorite things, being stressed. Something that I personally want my books to do is make me feel so stressed to the point where I have a physical reaction. Am I okay? I don't know, but we're not talking about that. Today we are talking about 6 books that I read and have loved that made me feel very stressed, like my heart was racing, and that's all I can ask for. So obviously these books are all 5 stars for me. So I have 6 books, 4 of them are horror, 1 is a thriller, and 1 is sci-fi. I love all of these books and I cannot recommend them enough, so let's just get into it. I'm going to start with the one that feels the most random, and that is The Martian by Andy Weir. This book is following, I almost said Andy Weir. No, Andy Weir was not trapped on Mars. Mark Watney. Mark Watney finds himself stranded on Mars. His crew ends up abandoning him, thinking that he is dead. He is very much not. So he is trying to survive until the next crew gets there, and also trying to contact Earth so that they can be aware that he's alive and factor that into the next trip to Mars. This book is a wonderful combination of humor and tension. I just love it. We are watching him try to survive. He's growing food, trying to figure out transportation to get to different things to help him survive, ways to contact Earth, everything like that. So the majority of this book does not stress you out, but there are some scenes, specifically one that I was on the edge of my seat. I didn't know if I was going to survive, let alone Mark Watney. So it was a great time, and I highly recommend this book. The next book is the only thriller on this list. I need to be picking up better thrillers because they're not thrilling me enough. But this one I feel like everybody and their grandmother has read, but I have to still talk about it, and it is No Exit by Taylor Adams. This is another one that is isolation. So clearly I love that. But we are following our main character, Darby. She is going back home to see her dying mother. She is a college student, and it is in the middle of winter, and she's driving, and the snowstorm gets so bad that she has to pull over at a rest stop, and she's in there. She goes outside to try to get cell service to contact her mom, and finds a child in a dog crate in the back of one of the vehicles. So clearly somebody there is not a good person. So she obviously wants to rescue this kid, and it is so tense. Oh my god, this book, just thinking about it still stresses me out in the best way. We are following Darby trying to get the girl out of the van, trying to figure out who she can and cannot trust. Because obviously you can't trust someone that keeps a kid in their van in a cage. All of this is happening while she cannot get out of this area because of the snowstorm, and she has absolutely no service to try to get help. A+ thriller, and I feel like I'm still chasing the high of this book, and it's been 3 years now. Moving on to the 4 horror books. The first one I don't have a copy of, but it is This Is Where We Talk Things Out by Caitlin Marceau. This is following a woman who is about to get married, and she has a very strained relationship with her mother, and she decides that she wants to have her at her wedding, but only if they can kind of start to get more on the same page and connect with each other. So they decide they're going to do a trip together, and she ends up agreeing to go to her mother's cabin in the woods. So there's an impending snowstorm, and she almost doesn't go, but she decides to do it because it's kind of the last chance, the only opportunity she has to make this work. And she gets there, and immediately things are weird. It is as close to an exact replica of her childhood home as possible. The furniture is all the same, the layout is the same, other than where the house doesn't allow it to be, and it's really weird. She goes to her room, there's weird things from her childhood that should not still exist in the room. It looks like she never left her childhood. It is so disturbing. And then the mom is such a weirdo. Watching her interact with her mom, oh my god, it was awful. Immediately I was like, you need to get out of here, go. But she's this is weird, but I'll give it a day. And girl, That was a mistake. In my opinion, this one is fairly predictable, but for me, that didn't take away from the story at all. Oh my god. And this is only like 70 pages. It's a novella, like a novella. It's tiny, but this book really packs a punch, and I think about it frequently. Next, I have Gallows Hill by Darcy Coates. And this book, if I was this main character, what's her name? Don't know. Margot? I would be dead. I would not have survived this situation. There's stuff that happens in here that, like, I don't have the whole fight or flight. That one, not fright. Fight or flight doesn't exist. I freeze. I would freeze and I would die, okay? No, you would not see me at the end of this book. I would not exist anymore. This book does have a slower start, but for me, it has enough of the creep factor that I was still intrigued. And then once this gets going, it gets going. Oh my god. This one, my heart was going, like, more than normal, obviously. And I just, like, I was like flying through. I read this one physically. I don't do that, but I was like, as fast as my little eyeballs could go, I was going because I needed to know what was going to happen. And the ending, A+. This book is another great stressful one. Next is Pen Pal by Dathan Auerbach. All I have to say is boxes. So this is a collection of short stories. We are watching a man put together these 6 instances in his life where at the time he didn't know anything was wrong, but looking back, something clearly sinister is happening. This is a pretty short one. It was a really quick read for me. This was originally published on No Sleep on Reddit, and then it was published through Kickstarter, which I think is always interesting. There starts off as a pen pal situation and it escalates from there. Boxes is my favorite story in here. I think about it every day and I am traumatized by it every day. Oh my god. Oh my god. I read this live on Sprints and I hadn't even finished the book and I think I convinced multiple people to buy it because of my reactions. Oh my god. I just like flipped through it and I stopped in boxes and I just don't know how to function anymore because this book, I think a lot of times it's real life stuff that like gets me so stressed. That's not really the case for Gallows Hill and the next one I'm going to talk about, but all of the other ones are situations, okay, the likelihood of being stranded on Mars, very slim. An astronaut could be stranded on Mars and then it would be a real situation. This is something that could happen to you. Well, unless you're a kindergartner, it probably won't happen in this exact way, but like the things in here, it could happen. It could happen. And I don't like that thought, but also apparently I very much do. Okay, moving on to the most unrealistic one from this list, and that is Uzumaki by Junji Ito. This is horror manga about spirals. Would you like a close-up of this? Probably not, but I'm gonna give it to you. Fun times. So this is technically a bunch of short stories, but like not, because they all are following the same exact thing. But this town pretty much gets haunted by spirals. Haunted is not the correct word, but I don't know what the correct word is. This is cosmic horror. There's spirals that are like infiltrating everyone's mind. Don't know how, but I like it. And we are just watching everyone's descent into madness because of these spirals. So we are following these characters throughout everything. It starts off like kind of normal-ish, and then like anything you can think of that has a spiral is probably in here. There's a thing with the spiral in your ear, snail shells. Those are the ones that have disturbed me the most. And like reading some of these scenes, especially because this is backwards, especially because there are visuals, I was like screaming. My friend was visiting and we were both reading together because we're very cool friends. And I was reading this And I was having physical reactions, like disturbing her. She was just trying to read like a normal person, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, no! Because things are happening. So, I love this book. Okay, those are 6 books that have made me extremely stressed while reading, so I love them. I don't know why, but that is one of my favorite things. I feel like if a book can make me stressed to the point where like my heart is racing and I can't put the book down and I just like need to keep reading, like that's all I want. These books for me were all super engaging and I highly recommend all of them. If you have any books that made you feel this way, please let me know in the comments so I can read them, because I always want to be stressed in the controlled way. I think that's my problem. I'm stressed about everything at all times. So a book that makes me stressed whenever I want it to make me stressed, like, helps in a weird way. Anyway, that was too deep. Let me know your recommendations. If you're looking to find me in other places on the internet, everything is linked in the description, including my Bookstagram, my Storygraph, and my Patreon. Also, if you're watching this in May, I am hosting a month-long team-based competitive readathon based on escaping a haunted house. There's a lot of stress involved. It's a lot of fun. It is not too late to join, so everything for that will be in the description. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye!